Grinding in video games is one of those things that most people will either love or they will hate. While there are means and ways of making grinding not only palatable but actually fun, if you're not into the grind, then looter games are probably not for you. As a game featuring exclusively PvE content, it is very important for Anthem to make the grind a fun experience, because that is literally where the core gameplay loop is coming from. In essence, running the same content over and over again in ever-scaling difficulties to get better loot and then go on ahead and tackle even higher difficulties for even better loot. Today, I want to talk about something I am simultaneously afraid of but also kind of excited about, because depending on your interpretation, it can really mean either or. As some of you might remember, during last week's Anthem video, I mentioned that I only recently got into looking at this game more closely because it has just caught my attention. So to make sure that I actually get the information I want to talk about as right as possible in today's video, I have been taking it to Twitter and asked a dev directly about something I needed confirmation on. By the way, you can do the same. Ben Irwing is very actively responding to questions. Can we trade loot with teammates who were present at the time of said loot dropping? And the answer was a resounding no. But why would they make a decision like that when other games have been adding this feature time and time again? In World of Warcraft, you got a 2-hour window in which you can trade both dungeon and raid gear with anyone in the group as long as they were present at the time of said drop. That comes in very handy, particularly for guilds who want to make sure that their entire roster is at maximum effectiveness when going up against bosses in a new raid tier. And even in The Division, the first game that is, this feature was added for convenience sake. Especially when you play in a squad, it is really frustrating to get a drop that you can't really do anything with while your friend has been struggling to find that exact item. When we are looking to build different gear sets, having that possibility helps all of us reaching our goals more swiftly. And being able to trade these items to my teammates allowed me to gear up a friend very quickly who had only recently been starting to play the game. That means that his overall power can approach my own much faster, so that we can clear even harder content together at a reasonable pace over me having to wait weeks for him to grind his way up. But there are also downsides to allowing the trading of items in games where grinding for gear is a prime objective. There is an argument to be made that having all the gear handed to you takes away from the core gameplay loop of acquiring loot in the first place. You don't really have the same appreciation for an item that you had to grind for versus the one that was handed to you because your friend didn't need it. And of course, that takes away a bit of the excitement. Not to mention that, particularly in my Division example, you could argue that being able to skip large portions of the grind just because you have a powerful friend is not fair to anyone who plays alone and actually has to work for that kind of loot. While that is much less of a concern when we talk about a game that is nearing the end of its lifespan, it is still very common practice in World of Warcraft to take lower geared characters on guild raids and proceed to hand them everything they can wear to boost them up to the guild's current raid progression standard. Of course, sometimes you just get really unlucky. It does not matter how often I slay Mother and Gahoon and Uldir because I'm just not getting the weapon that I need. And weapons in particular are very hard to come by. So knowing that a fellow rogue or demon hunter can help me combating this bad luck is definitely helpful. There is obviously a balance to it, two sides of the same coin. You don't want the frustration of having an item you don't need but your friend does without the possibility to trade it. But you also don't want to lose the excitement of working for your gear and looking forward to what a boss is gonna drop in any of your attempts of clearing a dungeon. And honestly, I'm not hating what Anthem is planning to do. At least on paper. Because here's the thing, when we played The Division the other day, yeah, it was cool for all of us to work towards whatever gear set we wanted. And I would say that me being able to put together a set that is all about setting enemies on fire and benefiting off it is way more fun than just using basic bitch abilities for the sake of it. But I also noticed that the variety of gear sets I was willing to approach was very, very low. That means that once I had my fire set all done, I really only cared about min-maxing that gear set over approaching different ones. And that's because of the limited amount of abilities present in The Division 1, which means that loot very quickly became mundane. Whenever we completed a mission, we'd just be asking around if anyone got a gear piece that somebody else could need, and then just, you know, GG, go next. Looking at what Anthem has to offer with the different javelin types, different gear sets, combo systems, and min-maxing opportunities, honestly, if my own gameplay changes fundamentally depending on which javelin and gear set I'm wearing, then completing them sounds like a very satisfying thing to do. Now obviously, I'm not passing judgment on The Division, because we were aware that we're playing a game that is soon gonna be obsolete because the second game is right around the corner. But the basic idea of loot not being exciting anymore in a game that is all about PvE, that would really suck. Anthem is seemingly trying to do something big when it comes to gameplay variety. To me, them not allowing us to trade our loot indicates that they are confident we won't get bored of doing the PvE grind. World of Warcraft has long lost its appeal when it comes to loot, where approaching a higher item level is a prerequisite to being able to stand in the arena, rather than somehow changing the way you play the game. If the loot is exciting, and if the gear sets change up your core gameplay while essentially doing the same content over and over again, and if that content comes with modifiers that you have to counter by bringing specific combos to the table, then by god I probably won't even care that much about not being able to trade my loot. Because look at it that way, the more frustrating it is to not get something that is really rare, the more exciting it is when you do get it eventually. As someone who has been playing WoW for over a decade, I'm longing for an experience where getting a cool item feels special to me. I want to be excited again when clearing really difficult content. And on top of that, Anthem has a bad luck protection system of sorts. I mean, WoW has that, but I'm still not getting a new weapon because of, you know, sheer chance. But in Anthem, if you're getting unlucky with a gear drop and you're tired of the RNG, you can do missions of sort that guarantee a blueprint for an item. That means that all the loot you get that you can't use is fueling your crafting. You can reroll stats on crafted items every time you make a new one, which means that the gear you get does not go to waste even if you don't want to wear it. I might be a little too excited given that the game is not out yet and that we don't know how this is going to play out, but honestly, I think it's okay to be excited. Do I suggest that you should go out and pre-order the game? No, of course not. You should wait for independent reviewers to get their hands on it and look at some gameplay ahead of your purchase. I just thought that it would be a fun discussion to talk about allowing trading versus, you know, not allowing it. Because yeah, it might just be a way of extending the grind to get players to spend more hours to get the items that they want. But if the grind is fun and the gameplay is good, is that really a bad thing? I for one love having things to work towards in looter games. The fact that Anthem does not have PvP worries me because PvP is something you can do to kill some time while waiting for new PvE content to drop. But if the variety is there, then this might just be a non-issue. But obviously that is just my opinion. So thank you everybody so much for watching today's video on Anthem. As always, don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.